Yeah, Said.
Very quickly on Syria, and then I'll go to the Palestinian issue. The Wall Street Journal reported today that U.S. officials fear that Turkish military buildup signals a preparation for a Syrian incursion. Are you concerned that this may be the case?
So I think I answered that question in response to either Sean or Jenny. I can answer. I'm happy to answer it again,
Right.
but it's not.
Please,
It's not.
yeah.
It's not going to be a different answer.
Right.
We continue to have concerns about tensions in northern Syria, and we continue to work, as I was just outlining in my answer to the previous questions, to try and de-escalate tensions and find a path forward that does not further destabilize Syria.
Okay, so I mean, are you talking to the Turks about not doing this? I mean, these appear to be imminent.
Said, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but a little deja vu.
No,
I
it's okay,
literally
that's
answered
fine.
that exact
So
question.
you don't feel
I literally
that-
answered that exact question maybe 5 minutes ago.
That's fine. So you don't feel that this is imminent?
What's that?
You don't feel this is imminent? The Turkish incursion?
I'm not going to speak to what may or may not happen. I will tell you that on behalf that for the United States part in this, we continue to talk to the government of Turkey, and we continue to talk to others in the region about a path forward that de-escalates tensions, not one that escalates them.
Okay, let me move to Gaza. There's, Kirby said there's cautious optimism. Some officials saying that about the talks, about the ceasefire talks. Can you share with us any update?
I'm not going to get into any substantive updates. I think cautious optimism is a fair way to characterize it, though very much tempered by realism, tempered by the realism of the past several months, where we have been close before, where you have heard us describe this as being inside the 10-yard line, but then finding those last 10 yards are the most difficult because for various reasons, the two parties have not agreed to a final deal. So here's what I'll say about it. We continue to engage with the mediators. The mediators continue to engage with Hamas and with Israel. Based on the remaining issues, we should be able to get to an agreement. We should be able to bridge the disagreements between the two parties. But that is not to say that we will. Because again, there have been times before where we were close and we thought the differences were bridgeable, and ultimately we didn't get a deal. As you've heard me say before, all the United States can do is push and try to come up with compromises, but we cannot dictate to either side what choice they have to make. They have to make those decisions for themselves.
All right. Well, the Israeli press, Israel Hayom in particular, reported that, attributed to some Arab officials saying that Hamas has basically agreed to all whatever terms that are in the deal or in the negotiated deal. So if that is the case,
it's
then
not.
should be no.
Before we get to the end of that's not the case. So
That is not the case.
That is not the case, no.
So all right, but it's the Israeli press, so I'm not claiming anything. So if such a deal goes through, it will be like a temporary ceasefire, correct? It will not be a permanent ceasefire.
I think you will understand my disinclination to opine on the details of an agreement that has not yet been reached. Should we get an agreement, it'll be public for everyone to see, but I'm not going to talk about what the details are before we get to any such deal.
Okay, the fact that the Israeli Prime Minister said that he wants, to sort of preside over the negotiations, does that give you maybe, a clear view of what might likely to happen?
I don't know what you mean by that, a clear view. So I'll just say,
he said that he wants to, he wants to oversee the talks, which means, he has his own, of course, vision of the talks that maybe or maybe not. It may reflect past negotiations or maybe something new.
I'm going to decline to comment on what those comments, which I haven't seen in full, mean. I can tell you we take our reading of the talks and where they stand and a possible path forward through our engagement with the parties, where we are in real time going back and forth with the mediators and with the government of Israel about what the final issues are and what concerns they have and how we might deal with those concerns. So I don't need to look at a public comment to have an assessment of where the talks stand.
Now, on the Palestinian death toll, yesterday we had last night, 52 Palestinians were killed. The day before, the same number. The day before. Now, I asked in this room a number of times that has this become normalized, and if there is, such a, there's hope for a negotiated ceasefire. Should this stop right now? Would you call on the Israelis to end their bombardment of civilians.
We are
basically,
calling
a
on
lot of civilians.
we are calling on Israel to reach a ceasefire agreement. That's what we continue to work for. We have not called for them to unilaterally disarm against an enemy that is still committed to the destruction of Israel. We believe there needs to be a negotiated ceasefire that ends this war. We don't believe that Israel should unilaterally end the war while Hamas not only continues to threaten the state of Israel, but still holds citizens of not just Israel, but I will remind you, 7 Americans. 7 United States citizens that continue to be held hostage in Gaza. So no, we don't support a unilateral disarmament. We support a negotiated ceasefire, and we continue to work to try to reach one.
But that is
One more side, and I do think I have to go to the rest of the room.
That is not unilateral disarmament. You know, I mean, the
That's one?
Israelis they can fight all they want, but they should stop bombing. I mean, bombing from the sky. They're the only ones that have an air force that continue to bomb people. You're not telling them to stop, you know, their let's say ground troops from doing what they're doing. We're asking you if they could stop aerial bombardment.
So Hamas, I'm sorry, when it comes to the tactics that Hamas has been pursuing, Hamas continues to, no, they don't have an air force, but they continue to try and launch rockets against Israel. So I think it's not productive to call on Israel to stand down on any one military tactic. What's appropriate is to try and reach a ceasefire that gets the hostages home and that ultimately alleviates the suffering of the Palestinian people.
Thank you.